Alright, hello and welcome everyone to New Moon 2020 Blood Moon Cycle 1. So, just to briefly explain how this is going to work. So, New Moon is a weekly round robin tournament um, that we've been having every week. So, it goes through with cycles, and Blood Moon is the final week of this a series of tournaments. So, the way Blood Moon works is that it has two stages. The first stage was the round robin stage, and the next one is the bracket or so the bracket or double elimination stage. We've already had the round robin stage, and that will be affecting the seeding for the double elimination stage. But before we go with that, I'm going to briefly explain what New Moon is and how it works. So New Moon is a round robin tournament, and it's played throughout the week. The fact that it gets played throughout the week also applied to our double elimination section, so people were able to play their matches when they're around. And the setups are public, so before the tournament starts, or I mean right after the tournament starts, setups are published, so everyone will be able to see everyone else's setups, and that's partly the reason why we'll be explaining both builds and going into detail on how that will work before the match actually starts. Okay, so to catch people up on where we are in the bracket, so by the end of the round robin stage, these are the rankings, and they are how they affected seedings. So they were counted both by wins compared to losses and the number of matches played, which is why player 0 is seed 1, even though there are 2 losses compared to Salah. Just to briefly explain how that worked. And then, so from the seeding, the bracket that was formed is this. So the way this bracket works is that we had 2 buys, which were the first 2 seeds you can see there, and then based on the seeding, the remainder of the matches have been decided. So what we're going to do is we're going to be starting with our first match for the stream, which will be Enduring Grey vs Shadow. But before we do that, I'm going to be joined in commentary with Symes. Hello, Symes.
Hello everyone.
Alright, let's head right into the first match. So this is going to be Enduring Grey vs Shadow. So I believe all of our players have played before, and so we're going to be explaining how they might want to adapt their play for the stream. So we're going to explain that as we go.
I think I remember seeing Enduring Ray saying that they didn't actually get the chance to play versus Shadow in the first week, so this was actually the first match between the two of them.
Yeah, so if that's the case, then we can start going from beginning by looking at their setups. If we start by Enduring Grey, they're running a more, so with the Navicast is the more usual Gregor Navicast that we see a lot of people are running. It has all the basic things you need for Gregor: air shoes, rush, low custom but with attack max and charge max.
Yeah, Enduring Ray is actually pretty new to the N1GP. I think this is the first tournament for Enduring Ray, so. But Enduring Ray has already been doing pretty well, so we'll see if they can keep it up here against Shadow. And we see Shadow with the Humor Navicus, also with the shield And we see the folder pack attack, which is always nice to see. So that gives Shadow plus +1 and Mega +1.
Yeah, so Shadow's running actually very interesting Navicost. I think that was the first time when he was running it that I've seen someone do this exact configuration. It gives him motion bug, gives him max custom, shield, as well as good HP. Although he does have custom bug level 1, the extra Navi is going to be very important for his build.
Yeah, what we see here is actually is in addition to the Slashman SP, the Slashman EX. And I think he said the reason he went with a Slashman EX instead of just a Slashman V1 with the asterisk code is that the kunais do more damage, and since he has the humor bug, that also doubles the kunais. So it is actually much more powerful than Slashman V1.
Yeah, exactly, and he is running, so although he does have emotion bug or humor bug, he is running bug fix, so his game plan is probably to start with trying to get the maximum damage from the emotion bug, trying to pressure the opponent as much as possible, and then near the end of the game, when he gets the bug fix, when he starts getting his other pieces like Habbaj or Geddon, then he can start using charge shots. He has 5 area grabs, so he has the potential to pressure with Tengu or Tomahawk slash charge shots, and yeah, that will also help with his custom bug.
Yeah, and with the snakes, he also has an attack +30, so if he manages to get a snakes with a lot of area, attack +30, and get that with the humor glitch, that would do a lot of damage, probably well over 1,000.
Yeah, so I believe Snake's 2x can be the same strength as Colonel Force with max area.
Yeah, it's actually a very powerful chip that can be hard to use, so we'll see if Shadow manages to get it. And over for Enduring Rays folder, we see attack that I actually like that you don't see too often for Gregor, the triple shot. And it looks like Enduring Ray can use that also to land the uninstall.
Yeah.
The one thing that Enduring Ray doesn't have to go with the triple crack is Summon Black, which is very strong, but we'll see what Enduring Ray can get off this triple crack tech.
Yeah, so it also can be chip charge, so if he finds that he doesn't use it or is going to be going into beast out, then he can try to get advantage out of chip charging it, so it still has good utility, and allowing uninstall while being very difficult to manually avoid is also a big advantage, as you mentioned.
Yeah, it can also be charged with Electros for a free para, but we'll see what happens with this match. I could really see it going either way.
Alright, let's head into the first match.
It looks like this is from Enduring Ray's perspective.
Yeah.
So we see here also, which is very interesting, is you see the ragged Volcust a lot for Balzer or Dustig, but here we see Enduring Ray using it on Gregor.
Yeah, so he can so that wasn't with an extra area, but the 2x is still big. But yeah, the full cost is very interesting.
Enduring Ray going right into Slash Cross here, but falls, Shadow warps forward to block the area grab. Oh, that's gonna block the Slash Man.
Shadow's trying to maneuver around the charge shots from Slash. Shadow also has shield, so if he finds himself full stuck, then he can try to use that.
Yeah, I think Enduring Ray wanted him to get the electric attack with Element Man there, because that would have trapped Shadow into the bottom, so he wouldn't have been able to avoid the Slash Cross. But unfortunately, just gets the wood.
Ooh, the life aura. Raceman, so this is the opportunity for Shadow to land the D cross, let's see. And
Get out of it.
so the way this works is that if you get paralyzed, bubbled, or frozen, you can mash your inputs to reduce the time you're stunned by, and that is what we saw there from Enduring Ray. But the decross ended up happening anyway.
And I don't think Enduring Ray managed to mash out Kernel Force before the end of the turn. If Enduring Ray did, they would have had that Wind Rack there to blow off the life aura.
Yeah, if they missed it, then that would be unfortunate. Although it wouldn't be that much. Oh, we're going again with Colonel Force. Do you know how long Life Aura lasts in slow gauge?
In slow gauge, I think it's about 3 turns. I think without the boost out, Kernel Force is much less potent if you use it without the boost out, so I'm not sure if it was, especially with 2 of those columns in that road broken, Enduring Ray will only get the 3 hits. This isn't gonna, and Shadow also has the trap up, this isn't gonna do very much damage at all.
Ooh, the quick decross. And then Enduring Ray chip charging the Life Aura, just trying to get in as much damage as possible.
Yeah, so what we're seeing, Shadow with a huge advantage. This get on with these Gregor Vulcan shots will still do a lot of damage though. Enduring Ray does now have to roll 3 to at least recover some HP. We see Shadow with the snakes plus 30 to close it out here in the first round. We'll see if Enduring Ray can make any adjustments here in the second round.
Shadow starting with the green invis, which is caused by color bug.
Yeah, so the green invis you can only get if you don't use Frost, you can stay as base Mega Man, which since Shadow has Humor, that's what he's doing, so the color bug is actually very useful for him.
And because it lasted for the whole time, that means it's level 2. Level 2 lasts, I believe, 8 seconds, so normal turn and a bit, while level 1 is, I believe, 4, so a bit less than a normal cost turn.
Yeah, I always thought it was 5 and 10, but I'm really not sure now, so... it is.
I believe it should be in the guides. Ooh, Shadow getting out that bug fix at the very end. And ending with the anger.
Yeah, so Shadow can mash here and immediately get a chip with the double damage. We'll see if he manages to pull it off here. And during the Prix with oh, that anger wasn't from the bug, otherwise it would have gone away. That anger was done because the flash bomb stunned him for so long.
Oh yeah, it might be, because so one thing I know that happens is if you use bug fix when you have anger, then I believe you still keep the anger, it doesn't go away. I think that's how it works. But I'm actually not sure now that you mentioned it. It could have been from the flash one, yeah. Ooh, a badge coming from Shadow, so now he has access to his shield again. Let's see if Enduring Grey is able to get the area advantage for Slash. He does have to get...
Oh, Shadow used hub badge, so
yeah,
he's safe. What Enduring Grey needed to do there was, as soon as, right after using the area grab, Enduring Grey would have needed to try and step forward into that column immediately. To try and not give Shadow the chance to grab it back, which is what we saw. And that saved Shadow from probably about 1,000 damage that turn.
Okay, so now Enduring Grey is able to get in the area advantage and is landing a lot of his charge shots. Snakes will connect, but unfortunately they wouldn't do that much damage with -1 area.
We still see Shadow with a slight HP advantage, but this is much closer than the first round was.
If Enduring Grey is able to maintain the area advantage, then the game could finish this round.
Oh, that was unfortunate. Oh, Enduring Grey kept the...
But the life are, let's see, nice. Able to move with the Marmasa, so now Enduring Grey has a chance to land a good number of charge shots. We see 2 already.
Yeah, now Enduring Grey has to watch out for these dust cross charge shots. They would take out his Slash, but it looks like Enduring Grey manages to avoid them. Now we see Enduring Grey with a pretty significant advantage here. We'll see what if Shadow has anything to turn this back around in his favor.
I think we still haven't seen the recovery 300s from Shadow, is that right?
No, I don't think we have seen those.
So you used roll 2x and when he still had the emotion bug, but we still haven't seen the recovery. So he still has chance to get the HP he needs to survive a bit longer, then deal the damage to try to get the game back.
Yeah, and if Shadow has another area grab, then that would prevent Enduring Ray from... Oh, it looks like Shadow's actually going for the...
Judgment, Shadow's HP is getting pretty low. One charge shot will put him down to 1 HP. Ooh! Nice! The counter hit with the boosted 2 XPs.
Yeah, so, well played to both players. That was a very nice bees at the end from Shadow.
Yeah, that was the counter hit. That was more than enough to bring the game back and give Shadow the game. Enduring Ray was doing very well, but unfortunately, when he saw the double point, so because we have both setups open, then when you see, you can try to guess what your opponent has based on the chips they start the turn with. So seeing the double point will mean that and going into Tomahawk is very likely that Shadow would have the bees, so you'd have to watch out for that, trying to avoid the counter hits.
Yeah, for sure. That was Shadow does also have a grab banish, so even if Enduring Ray had tried to avoid them that way, we might have seen Shadow try to land the B banish combo, but he didn't even need to use the banish in this case.
Alright, well played to both sides, and now I'm going to be looking at the next game setup, which will be Symes vs Eurasia.
Yeah, so we I think we saw both of them play last week as well, so we see Symes here with the hub batch BDT G code, which is just a pretty standard BDT folder. There's nothing really that unique about it. Yeah, we see 2 Recuv 300s, 2 area grabs, a get on, a slow gauge. But for Eurasia's setup here, that's a lot more of a unique setup if you wanted to take us through that.
So Eurasia, this is very interesting build. So we again see the folder pack 1 with the Navicast, but this time there is a lot more HP compared to what Shadow has, and we see a lot less of the utility pieces. So Shadow had shield, he had the emotion bug, but Eurasia decided to go to a different direction with the build and go with high HP, decently high custom, but it looks like he was mostly focusing on the higher HP. Usually for Gregor builds you see people running attack max and charge max, but even that he decided to go without and just try to survive for as long as possible while using his chips to deal a lot of the damage.
Yeah, we do also see he has 3 buster ups, so we can still get to attack max that way, but he has the reg and tag on slow gauge instead of the buster ups. He really wants to always maintain that slow gauge.
Yeah, so he might have been, so regging a chip makes it appear as your first slot, but the advantage with having a tag is that it makes it more likely for your chips to appear earlier, and they appear together. So by tagging the slow gauge together, I'm guessing Eurasia was trying to avoid playing against fast gauge, so he would have his rigged slow gauge to be ready to start with, and then if the opponent uses a fast gauge, then he can reply with his own as soon as possible to try to get in a lot of his damage early.
Yeah, so we'll see how this goes. We also see Eurasia has the Elect Dragon and uninstalled. We'll see if we get that. We also see with he has the folder pack like Shadow.
Yeah.
But instead of he also has roll 3, but he has 2 copies of roll 2 as well.
Yeah.
So
very interesting build. He also has the defense chips for bodyguard, but we'll see if he decides to use them individually or goes for the whole thing.
Yeah, he doesn't have a white pill for it, but if he lands the uninstall first, then
yeah,
it could still work, so...
Alright, well let's head right into the next game.
So we see Eurasia going into Erase Cross. Oh, and it looks like a little freeze here. Okay, there we go. And Eurasia gets the bug fix on turn 1, so that's very good for him, removing his custom bug and his warp bug.
Dragon Crush, so that will give time for back B and maybe one of the cubes hitting. Nice, yeah.
Was smashing B too hard though, and also just wasted the second cube.
But Eurasia was blind, so he wasn't able to try to land his charge shots, and now with the first barrier, fortunately he just has to wait for the next turn.
Like Symes is going for the static here to decross Eurasia to race cross, but he's the luck anyways.
So usually what people try to do against Bug the Thunder is go into Erase Beast, because the chip charge for that is very likely to land, does a lot of damage, and decrosses as well, so...
And it looks like both of them missed their dragons here, but Eurasia was using the Elect Dragon to try and break the life aura. So this was a lot more unfortunate for him than it was for Symes.
Okay, and we see the Bug the Thunder from Symes already, so basically the way Bug the Thunder works is that it's a Giga chip that changes your charge shot into basically a Thunderbolt that follows the opponent, deals 200 damage and paralyzes, so it's very strong if you're able to confirm landing it. There are a few ways to play around it, but that is where the matchup comes, where Symes would try to confirm it and Eurasia or Symes' opponents usually try to deny it. Okay, so it looks like Eurasia was the host in this match, and this is relevant because there is a slight difference in how Bug the Thunder works between the host and the client. Do you explain how that works quickly?
Yeah, so the Bug Death, so when the person against the Bug Death Thunders is invisible, if they're the client, the Bug Death Thunders will just go through them and actually just leave the field. But if they're the host, then the BDTs will they'll just go back into the middle column instead of going off the field. So that could be that is a little bit better for the client in that situation.
But obviously the host tends to have better connection. Ooh, the well-timed barrier 200 should give him time to step and protects him. Nice. So because Bug the Thunder is Elect type, then if it lands with Bubble, that would deal 2x damage, which is a lot of damage. So that was very well done from Eurasia being able to avoid that. so going to Tengu, back B will remove the barrier. Is there enough time? Barely enough time. He wasn't able to mash out of the bubble fast enough.
Oh, and this life orb will
Nice.
block the ground mana speed, so that saves something almost 400 damage.
Yeah. The element man. Rachel decides to go for grass, but that will go away because of getting nice, and that was nice time with the back B to allow the Bug the Thunder to connect.
Looked like the BDT, it looked like it was about to just collide with life aura. But using the Tengu fan just in time to remove it.
Going into Tomahawk Cross, nice, and that was the confirmed Muramasa connect. Now the area grab from Eurasia. Being able to get extra area will make movement a lot easier.
Yeah, and Eurasia also using his Recov 300, so he's still in this. We'll see if he can manage to avoid these BDTs with Slash Cross. That wall in the top row could be a problem for him, but it's fixed now. Oh no!
Ooh, slight mismovement, and the first one hits, though he was able to mash fast enough. See, nice, and avoiding the anti-damage star from landing on him. And now we see Symes has the recovery, has her badge, so it's going to be very difficult for Eurasia to try to come back from this. Okay, so there is going to be a bit more HP, and Eurasia is avoiding the paralysis from the Judgment SP.
Yeah, that would have been it for the game if the Judgment had
Ooh, but he was charging a charge shot, so that held him in place long enough for Bug the Thunder to land. Nice, and getting G-Cross. Let's see if Symes is able to finish it with the Buster Shot. Symes did use Hub Badge, so each Buster Shot does 5 damage, and just at the very end of the turn.
Now we go into round 2 here, and we see a perma-hole field, so we'll see if these perma-holes end up affecting anything.
Do you want to briefly explain how they would affect, how permaholes work?
So the way perma-holes work is you can't use area grabs on them, and you can't change them into other panels. And in this case for Eurasia, since he doesn't have air shoes, it also makes it much harder for him to use charge cross because he can only use it down the middle row.
Yeah.
He immediately gets hit by static to lose his erase cross, so this isn't looking like the greatest start for Eurasia.
Then end of turn Impus to try to keep Symes protected from anything that comes to start turn. Ooh, throwing away the recoveries and Hub Badge, so Symes probably putting them at the back of the fold. So Dust Shoot, the way it works, that you choose chips, and in the same order that you select them, they go to the back of your folder. So Symes decides that these chips wouldn't be useful now, so would want to see them later on, so he decided to put them with Dust Shoot.
Yeah, and since Symes still has the Warp Bug here, he can't go in the middle row, so Eurasia is safe, Slash Cross is safe as long as he just stays in the middle, which is what he's doing.
Yeah, but unfortunately Eurasia doesn't have a wind rack to deal with that life aura, so he's just going to have to wait out the turn until next turn, where he can hopefully try to get something. we do see the second recovery at the very end. So Symes' objective now is to find Bug the Thunder or Hub Badge, but Bug the Thunder is obviously the main one, and there it is.
Yeah, and the issue for Symes here is I think he already put on Groundman SP in the dust chute, so you won't have that to try and deal with the Flash Cross for quite a while. And now Eurasia lands the Erase Man, appears the trap and D-Cross bust.
Ooh, the warp step for Eurasia is making it very difficult to land the previous charge shots. And the freeze connects. Let's see if Eurasia is able to mash out fast enough. Ooh, barely misses it.
Oh, and there's the Groundman SP along with Bug Fix, which will allow Symes to use it from the middle row.
Yeah, that was the perfect time for bug fix, because as you mentioned, without bug fix, Groundman wouldn't be able to connect at the back and wouldn't be able to hit at all. And Eurasia staying in slash cross could be very bad news if he moves away from the middle and gets decrossed by ground. Ooh, beast jump causing the bubble to miss and the anti-damage, nice. Eurasia is doing very well in surviving this turn.
Yeah, but with these,
The warp step, yeah.
So this warp step is actually really working out for Eurasia right now. It's letting him warp past these holes, warp around the BBTs, so it's actually making it a lot harder for Symes to keep throwing hits on him.
This man does connect, but I don't think that will be long enough. Ooh, nice. Though we do see the Aqua Spiral connecting. I don't think that was with attack 5, so it wasn't as much damage.
Yeah, because, Symes didn't have to use top match yet.
So Eurasia is still moving cleanly, trying to avoid the Bug the Thunder from connecting. And now we see the Hub Badge, we see a recovery as well. And Symes is crossing into Tomahawk Cross, so this allows things like Judgeman or Raceman so this stops Raceman and Judgeman from paralyzing, which can potentially give Symes more time to charge without being interrupted. But Symes, ooh, misses the Raceman. Ah, but that was an anti-Navi TFC. That was unfortunate.
Both hits there.
Yeah,
They are actually still about even.
yeah, but now that permahole is affecting Eurasia's movement by a lot. With Bug the Thunder, even just missing one panel that you can move limits your movement very largely and denies you from freely avoiding it. And we're seeing that. Ooh.
Yeah, so it can also be pointed out that one of the best ways for Gregor to deal with BBT is using Charge Cross, because during the Charge Tackle you're invincible and can destroy the BBTs. But Eurasia's already used it much earlier in this match, so unfortunately he no longer has access to it.
Yeah, and we know the last trap that Eurasia has is Anti-Sword. But we'll see if he's going to be able to trigger that on Symes' anti-damage. that would be able to protect him from Bug the Thunder, who unfortunately looks like because Bug the Thunder limits his movement as well, it's more difficult to try to land these charge shots. Ooh, nice. The anti-sword on Muramasa is really big, also protecting from 200 damage, and now the Delta Ray Edge connects for 2 hits. Unfortunately,
yeah, it would have been 3 hits, but there was that perma-hole there. That actually would have put Symes down to 1 HP. That's very unfortunate for the ratio that this stage had the perma-hole.
So the way Delta Ray works is that Protoman spawns and maximum does 3 hits. But unfortunately, if there are any broken panels or any place that he can't spawn, then he wouldn't be able to do the full attack, and that's how we saw one of the hits miss.
Yes, they're just very oh, and that's gonna be...
Ooh, nice. Then Symes going into Beast Over just to make sure he can confirm the last hit, but unfortunately with Bug the Thunder it wouldn't fire the normal array, the normal Falzar Beast. Yeah, it would just fire normal Buster shots, which makes it actually very unlikely to miss. Symes decided to stay.
Yeah, that second round was actually very close. It was just super unfortunate for Eurasia with the those perma-holes preventing him from being able to get all 3 hits with the Delta Ray.
Yeah, so not only did they prevent his movement during the match, prevented area grabs, but also at the very end had to prevent the Giga, which would have given the game. That was really unfortunate luck, but that's how sometimes it works. There are many, I believe 30 or so fields that you could have, and sometimes you get a bad field for your build.
Yeah, those perma-hole stages are the worst by far. I hate them.
Yeah.
We don't see Delta Ray Edge used over Kernel Force too often, but I think as we saw there, as long as you don't have to deal with perma-holes or anything, it can deal a lot of damage and just turn games around.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if you manage to land it on a Tengu cross, that would deal over 1500 damage, so...
Yeah, we've already seen that in previous games, previous streams I mean, we've already seen how that can completely flip a match, so... Yeah.
Yeah, so well played to Eurasia there. He, that second round, he probably should have had without the perma-holes, but, so for the next match, we have playerzero versus Shadow.
Yeah, so before we head into the next match, just briefly going to be showing an update for how the bracket's going. So we finished the first round of the bracket, and you can see the grayed out pictures are the ones that are going to the losers bracket, and the highlighted ones are going into the next match. So now we're going to be seeing playerzero vs Shadow into the next match. Okay, so looking at, so we've already seen Shadow play, we already have an understanding of his setup, the way he wants the game to work. Start with motion bug, deal damage, and then bug fix near the end of the game, and using roll with or double point or plus 30. That has a lot of targets actually, like snakes, frisky honey, the slash man. So but now look, yeah.
Yeah, for playerzero, we see a B code folder here with the bubble stars, the looks like the risky honey double point grab banners, so the damage combo, the boomers and fire heads. So B code is always very strong.
Yeah, so I'd say this is about an average or the usual B code you'd see. There's a lot of damage that you can have high boomer boosted with tomahawk or boost B banish combo to deal a lot of damage, but there's also the fire hits and the blast man to try to get advantage from the 2x from the grass panels. I'd say one interesting change that we see the Neovari, it doesn't really go with the folder as codes other than the Giga, but I believe that would work very well with Meteor Knuckles, and they both happen to be the same code. So
yeah, I think we've seen the Meteor Knuckle and Neo variable splash in previous tournaments before. I think there was a long time ago a mod cards tournament where Aqua had it. So it's proven to be also very potent if you can get those Neovari demands. So yeah, we'll see. For Shadow, we've seen the M code, human, the slash man, the roll. So we'll see how this matches up against each other.
let's hop right into the matchup. Okay, so
Go ahead.
we already see a few things going on there. So this field has the conveyor panels, so they can direct you in the way they're pointing basically, but Shadow has the warp bug at the start, so he wouldn't be able to camp at the bottom right or top left, because conveyor panels will always push him, but at least they wouldn't be locked in by being forward on with an area grab, which can sometimes happen.
And we see immediately the slash man SP, but I think since he started with the confused, that made him accidentally go to the front instead of the back. So that's a little bit unfortunate.
So the fire hit misses because it only hits up to 3 panels ahead, and then the bubble not really doing much, just dealing 60 damage, and then Shadow is able to mash out of it before the end of the turn. Okay, now we see the B banish combo being prepared, and the way this works is that you use double point to lose one area, and then you chip charge B's and then fire them, and then use the grab banish to try to confirm that. But it can be very difficult to land, especially against good movement. So we'll see if playerzero is going to be able to connect that.
Yeah, I think especially against the warp bug, that makes the B's very easy to step around. But it looks like we'll see if this connects. Oh, it does.
Ooh.
But unfortunately for playerzero, though, Shadow had used the element across his tomahawk, so he couldn't get the ×2 charge on the B's.
Yeah, but even then it was a lot of damage. Also pressures Shadow, because if you hit B's, then it will fire extra hits, which basically doubles the damage for each one. You have an extra hive that fires, so it also pressures the opponent by stopping them. And we saw how that happened in the game that Shadow played against Enduring Grey earlier.
He takes 2 hits from the balloons, but at least manages to avoid that fire hit. But that's last man. Shadow just 3 HP. Because of the drain, it drops to 1.
Yeah, and then 1 HP is just finished with the Buster Shot. It's usually very difficult to try to avoid these Buster Shots, especially with online lag, which does affect how games tend to play out, unfortunately.
here we see that they're on the field with the volcano panels, which unfortunately there's no way to actually create yourself. So the only time you'll see them is on a field that starts with them like this.
Yeah, and although they are volcano panels, they don't actually deal fire damage. They deal no element or null damage, so they don't decross tomahawk, for example.
Shadow life for it to avoid that machine gun, and then it's own erase, man.
There was a turn 1 life aura that did not turn out 1 wind drag that denied the life aura.
But now we see a playerzero here with the yeah, so we see an example here of the tag chips still showing up early. So even though playerzero lost bust, he still already has the vanish combo here. We'll see if he can land it again this round.
Also, this field has an interesting thing because, as we mentioned before, lava panels deal damage, and they can deal damage to either player that steps on them. And beehives from bees fire 1 more when you get dealt damage. So players are able to use lava panels to set that up to effectively double the damage from bee banish combo. But it looks like playerzero still had the invis and couldn't really get advantage from the lava panels. Ooh.
Connecting, especially with this erase man. Shadow does get the slash man as PTFC, but
Okay, so what happened there? I think we saw at the very end that Shadow is actually flashing now, which is very interesting to see because the way drag works, so it's special status you can call it, that pushes the opponent and it doesn't change if they're flashing or if they're invis until after drag stops. But what happened there is that the decross or the erase man stopped Shadow from flashing. I mean, stopped the drag effect from Shadow, and that started the invis effect, which protected him from the bee banish itself. So using the erase man there potentially made playerzero lose out on a lot of damage.
Yeah, that's very interesting to see how that interaction works. But
so we saw the double point coming out from Shadow, but he is still without bug fix, so he is probably waiting for the emotion bug, trying to get the 2x, which with most chips will be able to deal with the life aura.
yeah, I think I have a feeling it might be with the roll 3 when he would break through the life aura and also recover most of Shadow's HP. See if Shadow can get a
Blast One connects, Protomine connects as well, and looks like Shadow still doesn't have a 2x status. But his HP is getting very low, and yeah, now it had a plus 60 as well from the double point, so that would have definitely broken through the life orb. Unfortunately, he was forced to use it too early. He wasn't getting the 2x that he needed.
The recovery 300, so even though he's already down at 1 HP, there's still a way for him back into this if he has those recovery 300. We'll have to see if he uses them.
playerzero still has the life aura and is going now to beast out, so there's a lot of defense from playerzero. Let's see if Shadow is able to survive long enough. Then the wind drag finishes off the game, and I believe the match, yeah. That was
Yeah, that was pretty unfortunate for Shadow that he couldn't get. That's the risk to using humor though, especially in standard BN6 format.
Yeah, although that was very unlucky roll. Usually you'd get at least 1 or 2 statuses, 2x statuses per fast gauge. I mean per slow gauge. But this time we saw him wait basically 2 turns and he still didn't get it, which was very unfortunate.
Yeah, it was still it was a good match. That B banish with the erase man interaction was still very interesting how that worked. So it was pretty cool to see that.
Okay, so now we're going to be looking at our next match, which will be Salad vs Thiago.
Yeah, so we see a Salad here with a folder similar to one she used before in the Net Battle Sulfurs tournament, which is a code combo folder, which also has a lot of traps, as we can see here: element trap, anti-navi, 2 anti-damages, and an anti-sword. So the only trap it doesn't have is a anti-recovery, which isn't too useful in 6, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we see Salad's also running the 2 fast gauge, with one of them being dragged, and she also has 2 invis instead of 3. So this is I find it very interesting to see how she decided to balance the defense, because usually what most people will do is just run the 3 anti-damage, 3 invis, but she decided to add in the extra other traps and sacrifice 1 invis, which against Thiago does have rush, so we'll see how Salad decides to play around the rush that Thiago has.
Yeah, we also see the Z code with the grab revenge and sanctuary from Salad. So, but on Thiago's end, we see B code Gregor folder with the machine guns to boost with the race cross, and also the Recuv 300 splash. Colonel. Yeah. We saw Eurasia with the Delta Ray, but Thiago has Colonel Force.
Yeah, so I'd say Thiago is running more to the usual Gregor build, where you focused a lot more on area grabs, the slow gauge, trying to confirm your charge shots as much as possible. But he also has the B SP navis, Blastman and Protoman SP, and as you mentioned, the machine gun. So he does have a bit of B code splash, which can allow him to do different things. He likes the uninstall, so in a mirror match his Gundam wouldn't really do anything. So it's just different way that he decided to go with his build, which is always interesting to see.
Yeah, the big thing that Gedon could do in a mirror match is to block the other Gregor's Colonel Force.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the past we've usually seen Thiago also run the Gundel Soul 3 in Q code for the Gundel Force combo, so it's interesting that he decided not to do that this time. But I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, alright, let's head right into the match.
Alright, yeah, so we see Salad here. Custom. Looks like Salad's decided not to cross for this turn, just staying as a base Mega Man to take advantage of that shield.
Yeah, and she also sees that Thiago has Rush, and if you activate Rush while you're in base Mega Man and you don't mash out of the paralysis, then you can get the anger status, which gives 2x to your attacks. We'll see if she decides to get an advantage out of that.
Yeah, and she has the spout man as a fire cross. That is a lot of damage, 720.
And the crossing charge, which for Thiago, who has custom 1, can be very valuable in giving him one extra custom per turn. So Solid already has very big lead.
And more on the anger thing. So the way that anger works is there's two ways to cause it. The first one is if you take more than 300 damage from a single hit. And the other way is if you're paralyzed or paralyzed or flint for more than 120 frames, and rush paralyzes for 150 frames. So that's why that's enough to cause anger.
Yeah, exactly.
Thiago used the get on here, but Salad already has a Sanctuary.
Also, one interesting thing to point out is that Salad does have the fast gauge reg, but she's deciding against using it because the way gauges work is that the last gauge used is the one that's going to overwrite everything before it. So the first, Thiago runs 2 slow gauge, Salad runs 2 fast gauge. So the person that used their gauge first is going to lose what is called the gauge war, which is basically the final gauge that you want the turn to end with.
Yeah, when you have double gauges against each other, it almost turns into a game of chicken in terms of when you want to use them. The element trap will, I think Thiago had life aura up, right? So that's what destroyed it.
Yeah. And very nice movement from Salad avoiding the charge shots. So unfortunately she doesn't fully have the chip combos that she wants, so she's still going through the folder and missing the race -3.
Yeah, and theoretically Salad could have gone into Dust Cross and a dig to get the Beast Rush combos, but instead she's just deciding to stay in base man for now. And there's that rush, so this would be able to trigger the anger. We'll see.
I think it's very likely because Salad used it at the end of turn, she's going to cross cancel, which is going to remove the paralyzed status, and she is going to beast out, and looks like we're going to be starting the beast rush combos as they're called.
Yeah, and Salad with this grass stage, this if Thiago uses the blast man as speed as anti-navi could be huge. We'll see if he goes to he's using the recover, and he doesn't have it this turn.
And he used Invis, so when playing in fast gauge, Invis can be very strong because of how long it lasts. It would last you about a turn and a half. But Salad did have the Eloc Pulse too, which pierces Invis, and that also removed the anti-damage that Thiago had.
Yeah, and this Bees here would be able to decross Thiago's Electros. He's going to the slash, it looks like.
The area grab, so now Thiago knows Salad doesn't have anti-damage, and he finds out the hard way it's anti-navi. But now that we know he's playing with B-code, it's likely that he has Blast Man as well.
Salad uses Elim and Wood to destroy that fanfare. Salad also now has anti-sword, which could be useful against Slash Cross, especially once the Slash Cross is at that low HP.
Yeah, but we still haven't seen the slow gauges come out from Thiago, so Thiago is able to get slow gauge out and maintain a plus area, then it can be very rough for Salad. Ooh, going to beast out.
With this much area, Kernel Force would be devastating, but Salad does have a Judge Man.
Nice. The books from Judgment will miss because Thiago is standing on a hole, so Salad still needs to land that final buster shot. Ooh!
I think we saw at the end there the Kernel Force and Wind Rack come out from Thiago, but he, with the Wind Rack, jumped right into the Feather Buster from the Balzer Beast. That actually was a much closer game than it looked like, because if Thiago had managed to mash out the Kernel Force before Salad had used that Judge Man, that actually would have been able to kill Salad on that turn.
I believe we were still in fast gauge, so I think Salad would have had time to go into custom again and maybe cross out into Tomahawk, use anti-damage or invis. But yeah, those very well played. And now Salad's starting with the anti-navi, so expecting Blastman to come. Though looks like Geddon is here, so and the shield from Salad isn't going to protect her against the charge cross charges because they are pseudo breaking, so they go through shield, as we see there.
Yeah, another thing of note in this matchup is with the element trap, that's actually basically useless against charge cross because charge cross removes it for free.
Yeah. Though I guess if you have life aura like Thiago now, that would still remove the life aura, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But it's like with the holes in life aura, Salad is opting for Tengu cross.
We see that.
Yeah, we saw in that first turn of Thiago when he charge back 400 damage, and now
that blast one with Thiago was still invis. There could be Protoman coming, but Salad's hiding behind holes, and Protoman doesn't have air shoes, so he wouldn't be able to decross Salad. Now Salad does have that Sparkman speed. Looks like she will take it. If we get decross again, that will be a lot of damage.
the really nice thing about the Spoutman chip is although it can't stand on holes, the attack with the hose isn't stopped by holes, unlike a chip like Groundman, so that makes Spoutman a lot better to use.
TFC with the air grab, nice, and it does connect. Yeah, that was a lot of damage. I think 720 damage, so that was very big for Salad, and decrossing Thiago. So now, because he got decrossed, he loses on the +2 custom that he had before. Looks like Salad's taking the life aura and then invis to trigger rush on life aura. So there are two ways you can avoid rush. The first one is to use your invis in a TFC, and the second one is to use your invis with the barrier up. The problem with using it in a TFC is that rush will still be there, so the next invis after that they use will activate it. But using it on a barrier completely negates it.
Yeah, or if you're false or going into Tomahawk cross will prevent the paralysis.
And we see Thiago going into Beast out, so we could have Colin Force coming. But Salad does have Judgment, so she's able to regain the area back. So Colin Force does come. Let's see if Thiago has the wind drag. Ooh!
That's huge, right? Salad stepping into him to avoid the wind drag and protect the life aura.
Nice. So the way wind drag works is that it basically applies wind projectiles, but they're invisible, so we don't see them. And the way by Salad stepping into the hitbox, that allowed her to avoid basically the wind particles from removing the life aura.
So that is the one risk to using wind drag while you're in beast out. That can happen. So we see the Eternal Force from Thiago completely miss.
Now the two recoveries, so it does have the full cost, and now Thiago still has one more turn with Beast out. So if he has the slow gauge and decides to go into Slash or Race Beast, that could still be good damage.
Well, he needs a way to remove these bully panels as well, so...
And Solid does have the Wind Rack, so Erase Beast would get defrost, but looks like Thiago decided to stay in baseman. And now he has the answer to the Sanctuary. Let's see if he can answer the Life Aura as well.
It looks like he doesn't have any other way to remove that Life Aura.
I think we still haven't seen Protoman SP, so he might be forced to throw away Protoman SP just to remove the Life Aura, which will be unfortunate.
Yeah, he does have 2 Wind Racks in his folder, so he might also solve the second Wind Rack. But no, it looks like he is using the Protoman.
The air grab. Now Thiago knows that it isn't anti-damage, but he doesn't know exactly which one.
He does manage to get the fanfare down. The back row, that's big for him.
But that also allowed Solid to easily confirm the Eraseman SP and remove his trap, so let's see if the fanfare is going to be able to survive, because Solid is still in Beast Out and the feathers on the side do hit it.
Yeah, and Solid also hasn't used Dust Cross yet, so she can also just go into Dust and use the back B.
Although she doesn't have Hubbatch, and I believe Solid is starting with attack 1, which will take quite a long time to destroy a fanfare with just attack 1. Thiago going slash, he has the plus area, so he's trying, and the slow gauge is coming out. Get them on the Elements Man. The Elements Man will remove the anti-damage. And Solid does have the air shoes from Beast Out. Nice.
Now see Solid down to her last 4 chips.
And we have slow gauge up, so even though she is winning, if we go into damage judge, she will have to survive all the time to get there.
And we also see the Dust Mana tired portrait here, which you don't see too often since most falters will use Dust Cross before Beast Out. She manages to connect with the fanfare.
And with Buster Shots, finishing up the game.
Yeah, that actually still ended up being very close at the end.
Yeah, if Thiago was able to land in few extra charge shots there, then that could have very easily been game for him, so...
Yeah, or especially that wind crack dodge against the Kernel Force was a very clutch for Solid.
Well played to both sides. That was a very good game, and seeing an interesting dynamic with the Beast Rush folder, which wants the path gauge against slow gauge folder, trying to get almost all of the damage from charge shots. So that was very interesting to see.
Yeah, it's certainly it's a very interesting matchup. I feel like if a few things had worked out a bit differently, Thiago could have won. But there was some good plays from both sides there. So Solid will advance in the winners bracket.
Alright, so we're still in the winners bracket, and now we're going to be showing Neryth vs HonorNite. Okay, so I believe this is the first time we've seen either of the players for the stream, so just quickly going to go over their builds and how it might work out.
Yeah, so from Neryth, what we see is, I think this is what Neryth usually brings for Gregor. We see the V code here with the Bubble Star 2, Dolt under 3, and Elect Dragon. So with Electros, that will do all those combos, will do a lot of damage. And we also see the Tengu Man and Tomahawk Man SP. I think Tomahawk Man SP is actually one of the best Navi chips because it is wood and sword, so it beats 2 crosses, and it also doesn't cause linking.
You know, although sometimes it can be hard to try to confirm it, it's better against Hall because Protoman will have to basically teleport to the opponent, while Tomahawk Man will spawn on your panel and will hit. So if you have plus area and you're starting on a fixed panel and something like Geddings comes out, you can just still use Tomahawk Man, while something like Protoman or Slashman SP will miss.
Yeah, it's actually the same thing with Colonel. So yeah, in that specific case, Colonel and Tomahawk Man work better than Proto Man and Slash Man. But did you want to discuss what HonorNite's folder is?
Yeah, so HonorNite again is running quite an interesting build. So he has L code with so he has L code chips with uninstall. He does have the Splash SP navis. But usually you'd want to see so the way that he wants to deal a lot of his damage is he has Bubble Star with Elect Dragon combos, but he also has Hub Batch and Attack Max. So he has both ways to try to deal a lot of his damage, but also has a long-term plan. If some of his chips miss or if he's lacking on damage, he can always try to pressure the opponent with his charge shots. He also has shield in his Navicast, so that will give him access to both shields, so that allows him to protect against things like Buck the Thunder or uninstall with charge shots with uninstall. Though Neryth doesn't run uninstall, he's very focused on V code.
Yeah, so since Neryth doesn't have uninstall, that does make things a bit easier for HonorNite. He doesn't have to worry about like holding on to the Hub Batch or anything. He can just use it whenever he wants. Cool. So let's get into the match then. Yeah, so right away we see Neryth going for the Electros. It doesn't look like HonorNite has any wood chips either to really threaten the Electros.
Yeah, and he has that reg plugin, so he's going to try to get in charge shots to pressure the opponent, and then one possible trying to go for the bubble like combos that will deal a lot of damage. Ooh. Nice TFC, which will protect the trap and dust. Fan out the Raceman from HonorNite misses. And also one interesting thing we see here is that HonorNite is actively avoiding the grass panels because he knows that if Neryth has Elements Man, then he can just use it with fire and get an easy removal for that. So he's actively stepping away from them. At the very end.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate for HonorNite. Just he was keeping off the grass the whole time, and then right at the end he finally stepped onto it and lost his life for it. Neryth, we do see Neryth with a Blinderak here, so it probably wouldn't have ended up making a huge difference anyways, but...
Yeah, but at least now Neryth has that Windrak to try to pressure with or deal some damage, so it's still unfortunate for HonorNite. But yeah, so now Neryth is basically, we saw that he took the bubble and Dolphunder, and if he's able to land the bubble, then that will confront the Dolphunder, which will deal a lot of damage in just 2 chips. So one interesting thing that we didn't really talk about is that Neryth isn't running any invis. So what this means that he's playing against, yeah, there we see it. He's playing against L-Code, which has a lot of magnums, and magnum can deal very well with anti-damage.
Yeah, but we do see actually bubble star to Dolphunder 3 with 3 Electros, which I think that does 460 damage.
And we saw HonorNite miss his, and unfortunately he also missed the Magnum, which Magnum can be very hard to try to use, especially in lag, because it's very quick, so it's very difficult to try to press it and then have the game react to press on time, and that's probably what we saw there.
Yeah, now we see Neryth also going for the beast out Super Vulcan with White Pill, which does 500 damage. But that's unfortunate with HonorNite. Yeah, with HonorNite going into Tomahawk Cross, that White Pill on the Super Vulcan won't work.
Yeah, but Neryth is still able to use his Electric Charge Beast to break panels, and it looks like that is what he's going for. He's trying to bait out the charge shot from HonorNite, but now he's aiming to break the panels, force him to be in one place, and then fire with his Super Vulcan.
Yeah, and since Neryth doesn't have air shoes, it doesn't matter too much, but that bubble star 2 from HonorNite had a uninstall attached. So now when Neryth's stout expires, he won't have any super armor.
And now we're seeing Neryth going for the Colonel Force plus 30, which is going to be plus 60, 30 from Beast out and then 30 from the chip itself, so that will do a lot of damage very quickly.
We also see Neryth going into the Heat Beast here, so if HonorNite decides to stay in Tomahawk Cross this turn, he could also take a lot of damage from the Heat Beast charge.
Another thing Heat Beast can do very well is to try to pressure the opponent into going into the back row, and by doing that, that allows him to land his own area grabs, which gives him more area, which is more damage for Colonel Force. So.
Yeah, and you can cancel the Beast charge, so actually use the chip instead just by pressing the B button a little bit to use the buster.
HonorNite is staying in Tomahawk.
Oh, that means that
Another miss.
Yeah, Neryth will be able to get much off the Infernal Force now. So since we're in slow gauge, I think yeah, they'll both fix themselves, so now Neryth is using it, and that's gonna finish off the game.
So what we saw there was a commonly used strategy where players try to use Magnum to break the panels, and that prevents Colonel Force from spawning. But as you mentioned, slow gauge gave enough time for the panels to fix and the Colonel to land at the end.
Yeah, especially what HonorNite could have done there, especially with Tomahawk Cross, is wait for Neryth to use the Colonel Force first, and then use the Magnum to break one of the rows.
Yeah, because Tomahawk Cross gives status guard, which means he can't flinch, and not being able to, he can't be paralyzed, and that would have given him enough time to react. HonorNite with the barrier 200 protecting Dust Cross. But we see Neryth has the early Muramasa, still does 0 damage now, but we'll see how much he's able to shield that, and he is getting D-Cross, so that's 200 damage for Muramasa. See if he's going to be able to land that.
Yeah, going for a Muramasa on it. Oh, he gets the
Ooh, nice!
Neryth now goes full synchro. But unfortunately,
That's unfortunate because if Neryth had a wind drag, then what he could have done is started with the Colonel Force and then wait for that to and then mash into his wind drag to remove the life aura before his Colonel Force ends.
Yeah, and Noel beast out without a cross, and still can keep your full synchro. That also would have been a ×2 Colonel Force, so that actually could have ended the game right there, but unfortunately with no wind drag, that wasn't an option for Neryth.
Yeah, and it looks like Neryth is going for the Electric Dragon ×2 to try to break the life aura, but that is very risky, because if he takes any hit, then he is going to lose his full synchro and will have to basically waste a full hand of chips.
Yeah, whereas if Neryth had gone into Electros, with the +50, the Elect Dragon would have still been able to break the life aura anyways, so it's interesting that he's opting to stay in a base man here.
Well, he was decrossed from Electros turn 1, fortunately, so he doesn't have that option anymore.
Oh, was he hit by an element man?
Yeah, that was the grass. Ooh. And now HonorNite triggered that rush, so that might give him time to react, and it does.
And now HonorNite gets his own Bubble Star into Elect Dragon combo.
And unfortunately, although Neryth did get the anger, it had to be wasted on a 2x bubble, which still wasn't enough to remove that life aura.
Yeah, it's Bubble Star 2, which only is 80 damage. If that was Bubble Star 3, it would have been enough to break the life aura. But he does have 10 mana SP now, and the Tomahawk mana SP, so that will definitely be able to deal with that life aura.
So one interesting thing Salad's saying in chat is that if Neryth used the Dull Thunder at the same time, it could have broke the life aura, because the way damage applies in this game is that if they land at the same frame, they both count toward basically the same source, so the game doesn't distinguish between them, which means that it would have added up the damage and would have removed that life aura, but unfortunately Neryth missed out on that opportunity.
Yeah, and also unfortunately, since Neryth doesn't have air shoes, all those Elect Dragons and Magnums HonorNite has in the L code, they all crack or break panels. So as you can see here, Neryth's area is kind of a mess, so he's just stuck on this one panel for a while.
So someone is asking if Tomahawk causes flashing, so the charge shot or the chip, neither of them cause flashing.
Wood attacks in this game don't cause flashing at all, with the one exception of Wood Dragon.
Yeah. And now HonorNite is in Tango Cross, so if he gets the decross, that will be a lot of damage. Ooh, an anti-damage, unfortunately.
Yeah, that really saved HonorNite there.
So one interesting thing there is that if Neryth had TFC'd with an Element Man and hit with the ice, that would have cancelled the invis that HonorNite used, because the way the freeze works with Element Man is that the freeze, the hit itself applies flashing, but then the freeze will remove the invis, and the way that works in a TFC is it will actually remove the invis from HonorNite. So that was also very interesting interaction that we could have seen there.
Yeah, so we see Neryth now going into the slash cross instead of a race, with HonorNite still in Tengu cross. So the HP is still pretty close here. This round can definitely still go either way.
So Neryth didn't take any chips into the stand. I believe I missed that during this custom.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That might have been an accident.
Ooh, that was really bad, and now almost got locked in with Tengu, but it's still very difficult to try to avoid all the charge shots, and Tengu has a lot of defense, so creating the charge shots.
Neryth going for the Kernel Force.
And we see the plus 30.
Will reclaim his area.
Yeah, we also see the plus 30 attached to that, so that is, even at neutral area, more than enough damage to just give him the game.
A thing that can happen with anti-navi that we just saw. If you try to use a and the other person TFCs with a navi chip, the original chip you try to use will be overwritten by the anti-navi stealing the other person's navi. And so we saw that from HonorNite to block Neryth using the judgment, and then he was able to close out the round. That was very well played by HonorNite there.
Yeah, so anti-navi can be very strong in taking your opponent's navi, but also is double-edged sword in denying your chips, and we saw it there with judgment, but it can even happen to giga chips. In previous tournaments we've already seen that happen to Habbash, we've seen that to Bugdeath Thunder or even Bugfix, so if you're not careful you can lose out on a lot of your important chips.
Yeah, it's definitely anti-navi's definitely a very high risk, high reward chip for that reason.
Slow gauge now with Neryth trying to land his charge shot to get in as much damage as possible. Nice. And that all these times was very slightly late on the shield, which unfortunately doesn't take quite a bit of damage. Ooh!
Oh, that's very unfortunate for Neryth. That conveyor pedal stopped them from getting the Ball Thunder on HonorNite in the bubble. Oh wow, and now they just disappear after.
It was very unfortunate. Missed out on so much damage, and on the same turn he was uninstalled, so even if he had the air shoes, then that wouldn't have helped.
Yeah, but now you see against the Tomahawk Man SP against the Tanky Cross, those could still be 560 damage if he lands it, and it won't even cause a blinking status.
Grab an TFC with an anti-damage.
Oh, he could have TFC'd the Tomahawk Man there. HonorNite has
nice.
no defense. And actually, if he lands the Tanky Man now, that would HonorNite was only 1 HP.
Yeah, I think Neryth was waiting for the optimal damage for that, so I think the way the place the HonorNite was would have been only 1 hit.
Yeah, and where HonorNite is now, it would be 0 hits. So.
Yeah.
But still, that Tomahawk Man SP was huge for Neryth. That now leaves him with exactly a 500 HP advantage.
Yeah, but again, as we've seen previously, HonorNite still has a lot of combos. He can use Magnums and Elect Dragon to block it in Neryth and preventing him from doing damage. So this is still very much could be anyone's game.
Yeah, if it wasn't for that conveyor panel of blocking the Doll Thunder, this game might already be over.
Neryth, and we see HonorNite going into Tomahawk, so he might be able to have enough time to get charge shots in and decross.
He's walked Neryth into that one panel.
And Judgment extending the paralysis. That was a lot of damage already. Ooh.
Oh,
1 HP. Windrak finishing the game off. That was very close.
That was really close at the end. Wow, that was a great game. So that was Neryth just manages to finish it off with the Windrak and take it 2-1. That was very well played by both players.
As we saw there, all that HP difference was immediately removed, and HonorNite was able to bring him down to 1 HP, but unfortunately, at the very end, the game was taken for Neryth. That was very well played.
Yeah, that was actually a very clutch beast out by Neryth to be able to use the Dull Thunder and Windrak to connect with HonorNite. Without the beast out, Neryth would have just been stuck in that one panel and couldn't have hit HonorNite in the top row. So that beast out was actually what ended up winning it for Neryth. And so that's actually it for my commentary today.
Yeah, thank you, Symes, for joining. That was a lot of fun. The stream will still be going on, but I'm going to be the only commentator going forward for the remaining of the stream.
Yeah, it was a fun stream. Thanks for having me, and I'm sure the rest of the matches will also be good, exciting. That last one between HonorNite and Neryth was very intense. So
yeah, that was quite the match to leave on.
Yeah. All right. So peace, guys.
All right. Thank you for joining again. Okay, so we're going to be looking at our next match, which will be luckytyphlosion vs Symes. So, going to briefly, we've already seen Symes play, we've seen Bug the Thunder, and basically the endgame plan that Symes wants to go for. But now looking at luckytyphlosion's build, so we see that he's playing Falzar, but he does still have the custom with a lot of utility, or it's basically a custom that is usually called the salad cast, because she was the one that was using it first and basically inspired other people to use it because of how good it was. It gives you access to rush, beat, attack +4, charge max, and 1400 HP, so it gives you basically a lot of support and still gives you the ability to pressure with charge shots. Which, looking at Lucky's folder, he would want that. He has the 5 area grabs to try to land in Tengu and Tomahawk charge shots, but he also has M code as his main code with a lot of high damaging chips, so if he's able to land machine guns or M boomer, then he can do a lot of damage very quickly. But we're seeing he's also splashing the Spoutman SP and the Elementsman SP. So that's even more damage, basically. So one thing to point is that in this matchup, Symes wants to go into Dust Cross, which is why we see he has that first barrier and the full cast. So he wants to protect Dust Cross as much as possible. But HonorNite is running, but luckytyphlosion is running 3 machine guns, so that can be very risky for Symes. So we'll see how Symes will be able to deal with that. Another thing that we'll have to watch out for is beat. So although Symes does have the 5 megas and 2 gigas, a lot of them do play a lot of them have big impact on his build. So we're going to see which ones he's going to have to throw away, or how he's going to try to play around beat. Alright, I believe that's everything. Let's head right into the next match. so just waiting for them to connect. Okay, so second. Yeah. Okay. So we're seeing that they're starting with ice panels and cubes, so they both are playing Falzar. So they can both go into dust and try to use back B to take that in. By doing that, will give the other player the chance to try to react to it because it locks you in the animation. So we see Lucky does have that machine gun. So if he's able to remove that first barrier and land the machine gun, then that can be very big for him. So it looks like he's going for Spout Cross and Spoutman SP. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like Symes is actually waiting for before using the full cost. Ooh, the anti-damage, nice. So the first barrier would have protected Symes from being frozen and the first hit, but he still decided to TFC the anti-damage. Okay, and now we see the full cost, and unfortunately Lucky still has the Embers in hand. Okay, we see Lucky does have the B banish combo, which he did put as reg and tag, so that makes it more likely to appear earlier. But he also has plus area, and ideally you would have neutral minus area or -1 area to allow you to use double point, but also use the grab banish. So it's very unlikely that he will be taking that this turn. And he does have the machine gun and erasement, so he has very good chance of decrossing Symes. Okay, so trying to debate where he should take. Okay, so it looks like it is the Raceman. Ooh, TFC'd into the life order, nice. And that will confirm the decross. Fortunately, the machine gun will miss, and I'm not sure if Lucky actually meant to do that as TFC, because Symes does have rush, so using that as TFC when there is no real threat to him might have been a misplay. Because now he still has to deal with the rush. He already lost his first invis because he had to throw it away, and his second invis was used now. So he either used the last one in a TFC, which is also very valid, or will have to throw away to rush. And now we see Lucky has his own life orb, but he doesn't have a wind rack to deal with the first barrier. So, I mean, with the life orb. So unless he's planning to throw away Element Man SP into that. If he goes into Tango Cross, that could give him the back B to remove that, but he is in range for Erase Man into Muramasa, so if he decides to do that, then taking Life Aura would be the safer option. Let's see. Okay, so he is going into his Tomahawk, which will protect him against the freeze charge shots from Spout Cross, especially now that we see Hub Badge coming out for Symes. Ooh, because of the slide from the ice panels, Lucky wasn't able to land the like anti-damage, but Symes had the anti-damage anyway, so Lucky decided to go for the grass, which can actually be risky because that will mean any fire chip will deal 2x damage to Lucky, so, and will remove the life aura that he has for free. Interesting. So Lucky's debating taking the Rusky Honey, which might be because he's expecting Symes to regain his area, or so he's just going to use that without the grab banish, which with the maximum plus area, Lucky will still be able to very likely confirm B to landing. Ooh, the Heat Dragon getting the D-cross there, that was really unfortunate. Lucky was still stuck mid animation. Yeah, now the Judge Man will deal 2x damage and give Symes the area back. Although Symes didn't have a wind rack, the push, so he's just pressuring with the charge shots. Now Lucky is very behind on HP, but he does have very defensive 10. Okay, and we see that last hit is Symes going into Beast out. Ooh, and Bug the Thunder coming out, so Bug the Thunder is going to threaten that life or with the wind rack, and the wind rack also hit because of the timing of it. Lucky was mid movement, so both removed the life and connected. Lucky deciding to chip charge all of his chips last turn. And now he's going to Ground Beast. So Ground Beast does give one option of dealing with Bug the Thunder, because the chip charge with Ground Beast makes you invulnerable, so that can collide with the Bug the Thunder. Ooh, but the Color Force, oh wow! Then Symes replying with his own combo, going with Bubble Star uninstall, which allowed the Bug the Thunder to connect, bringing it down to game. And now we see they're starting with cubes again, but this time, because they're in the middle, it's actually better for Lucky that these stay in the field. It makes it much more difficult for Symes to avoid his boomers. But that being said, Symes does have warp step, so it wouldn't really affect his movement. Lucky going with the machine gun. Ooh, missed the back V. Let's see if the machine gun does get the D-cross. Full cost coming straight from Symes, and that should give him enough time to react, and might even allow him to preserve his own first barrier. So Lucky trying to go through his chips. Debating if he should keep the same hand or take a new one. And we see the life aura coming from Symes, and he takes the cube, so if he's able to get bug fix as well, then he might be able to remove the life aura from Lucky. So luckytyphlosion is keeping that in mind, and he's avoiding stepping into the range where the cubes can hit, so both life aura are safe now. Looks like Lucky's debating going into Tomahawk with the B banish combo. He is still able to use the ability from Dust Cross because he's technically still in Dust. But looks like he decided to keep his hand. So starting with the Wind Rack to remove the Life Aura, then Machine Gun for any potential anti-damage and for D-Cross, then following up with the B banish. Bee Banish unfortunately can be easily avoided with Warp Step, but let's see if Lucky will be able to connect that. Ooh, nice, getting the D-cross. Let's see if Symes has any defense. The barrier 200, but that can... Yeah, so Bees did miss, and unfortunately the barrier 200 will prevent drag from happening because it blocked the damage. So that completely denied the combo. And now we see Lucky going with the Embomers, so trying to charge them for 2x to deal a lot of damage. Symes going into Tengu. Let's see if Lucky's going to be able to get D-cross. Bug the Thunder is coming out though, so there is going to be pressure. Ooh. Judgment coming out from Symes will give him back the area. Okay, the first one connects, the second one didn't get chip charged. But it did connect. If Lucky was chip charging it, then the Invis might have protected Symes from it, so Lucky went for the confirmed hit. And now we see that Muramasa in hand, but it could be a gamble on if Symes decides to stay in Tengu. Looks like Lucky is going with the Elements Man SP, or maybe not, still considering the chip order. Symes does play area grab, so taking Judgment early could be bad, especially with Lucky using his B banish combo with the grab banish. We did see Symes use the Invis at the very end of turn, so it's going to last a bit into the turn of Lucky, unless Lucky is able to remove that. Let's see. Ooh, nice. And that will deny the static as well. Slow gauge did come out from Symes though. Yeah, so because of Bug the Thunder now, Lucky isn't really able to move freely to press with his own chips. Ooh, I believe that was missed TFC. Oh, still missed out, and then Lucky taking all the chips again. If Lucky was able to mash out the Elements Man SP, that would have been a lot of damage getting the 2x. And he might have been able to use the anti-damage at the end of turn as well. Ooh, Hub Badge coming out from Symes, but he decided to throw away to protect from the Elements Man SP. This could actually be bad for Symes. Hub Badge can be very important, especially with the low custom that Symes has and the lack of Buster stats. Okay, we do see Bug Fix come out though, so he isn't going to be stuck with the custom bug. Ooh, Lucky was trapped with the plus area, and unfortunately misses the last charge up before the end of turn. We do see a good number of area grabs, so Lucky is able to go into Tengu Cross and try to pressure with that, but obviously that is always risky with Symes running Muramasa in the folder, which can, if it gets a D-cross, then that's 1000 damage, which will bring Symes to be very much ahead. Though Lucky being able to get Tengu lock would have been able to deny Symes from his from firing charge shots because it applies drag with interrupts. And now we see the D-cross and maximum hits. Ooh, Lucky had the anti-damage, but unfortunately wasn't able to use that in time before getting D-cross. Now he's just trying to step around. Nice, this anti-damage should protect him from both. The second one should leave the field, yeah. Ooh, and this area grab will remove the anti-damage from Symes. I think that's the last anti-damage Symes has. so someone in chat is asking for where you can see some of the clips or highlight moments from the stream, and you can do that by heading to the N1GP Twitter, where we try to regularly upload some of the clips from recent and previous streams, so make sure to head on there and check that out. Okay, so we see there Symes going into Tomahawk Cross, which will deny the paralysis from... Ooh, nice! So even though he wasn't able to get the paralysis, that Muramasa was still able to land, dealing 500 damage. Fortunate misstep from Lucky moving into the Bug the Thunder, but now he's moving well. Ooh, the second one, and that will finish off the game. And that was the match. Okay, so now before heading into... So that was very well played from both sides. Lucky had very uphill battle to try to fight, because Bug the Thunder benefits in the long game, so the longer the game keeps going, the more advantage Symes would get with trying to pressure. Lucky did have the damage, he was able to connect a lot of stuff, but unfortunately the recoveries came just in time for Symes to keep him above losing that turn. So that was well played from both sides. That was a very fun game. Alright, so before we head into the next game, just going to give a brief update for how the bracket looks. So right now on loser's side bracket, we see Enduring Grave vs luckytyphlosion, Thiago vs Vicario, HonorNite vs Ubu, Shadow vs Joey, and Shadow vs Joey. Unfortunately, we won't be able to show all of these matches, but we will show some of them, like the next match, which will be Enduring Grave vs luckytyphlosion. Okay, so if we briefly try to go over the setups, we've just seen Lucky play, we've seen all of the burst damage that his build is able to do, and even his charge shots and how he's able to pressure with that. But we've also seen Enduring Grave play before, and we've seen the Gregor, the pressure from the Gregor charge shots, which are typically the higher DPS option compared to Falzar. So it'll be very interesting trying to see how Lucky tries to deal with that. Few things that are interesting for the matchup itself is that Enduring Grave does run the uninstall, so being able to land uninstall on Lucky can be very big with denying Lucky's charge shots. But Lucky does have that Spoutman SP and the Elementman SP, so Lucky does have very good opportunities to decross, especially Elecross from Enduring Grave. Another thing to note is that Enduring Grave is actually running four megas compared to the usual 5 that people run, so that will put him at a disadvantage with playing against Beat from luckytyphlosion, as well as Rush. So he's also running two Invis, which again will be pressured to using that either in TFC or with life or barrier up. But yeah, I believe that was everything for the setup, so let's head into the next match. Okay, so we see Enduring Grave already starting with the triple shots, which depending on which cross Lucky decides to go for, can be very risky with limiting his movement. And Lucky does have the affinity for going into Tomahawk, so if he goes into Tomahawk turn 1 and Enduring Grave is able to get that D-cross, then that can be a big swing. But again, looking at Lucky's folder, we see the Elementman SP, we see that Spoutman SP. So as we saw in a previous game, Sportsman SP, getting a D-Cross can be a huge swing, especially with Enduring Grey having 1500, which is relatively low HP and no recoveries in the folder. There will be a lot of DPS flying down this match, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, so it looks like Lucky decided to go with Dust Cross. Okay, so that does connect, but doesn't really do much. And Enduring Grey does have the anti-damage, which he's holding on to. That machine gun in the turn. And Rush, let's see if Enduring Grey is able to get out the anti-damage in time. Ooh, nice, it does. So Lucky would have been able to mash into full cast, I believe, before the animation ended. But it looks like he was trying to mash to get rid of the paralysis from Rush. But now we see that Enduring Grey does have that flash bomb into machine gun, into full cast, so if he's able to connect all of these, then that can try to start building up the advantage for Enduring Grey. Usually when ending with activating Rush, the player that used that proc Rush will try to cross cancel. But Lucky might go into Beast out, might just decide to stay and mash it out, so we'll see if the D-Cross from Enduring Grey does connect. We did go into Beast out, and that machine gun did connect, unfortunately, right before the life aura comes out. And now Raceman from Lucky will remove the anti-damage and give him some time. Chip charge. He was able to get one hit, I believe, with that chip charge, until then the focus came out. It looks like Enduring Grey is thinking about going in slash cross with the area grabs and then ending with the Colonel Force. He is at -1 area, so if Lucky has any one area grab, he will be able to force Enduring Grey to maintain neutral area at best. And Lucky does play 5 area grabs, so I think that was somewhat of a risky play from Enduring Grey. Especially with taking Colonel Force, that wouldn't be boosted. Lucky going into ground cross to deny the first area grab. This is really bad for Lucky, because now, this is really bad for Enduring Grey, because Lucky is able to camp back row and will stop all the charges. Ooh, and looks like and beat activating on Colonel Force. There's a lot happening there. So what we saw at the start is Enduring Grey used an area grab, but because Lucky TFC'd with... Lucky didn't actually TFC. Lucky used his Sportsman SP with a white capsule within the last few frames before the chip actually activated, and that ended up overwriting the chip that Enduring Grey, which was area grab, with the paralysis effect, which unfortunately ended up going away. And now and then after that we saw Beat, which as we saw can actually take real-time chips like Colonel Force, which is the only real-time chip for Beat to take. Enduring Grey decided to go with the slash beast out, so if he's able to connect his beast charges, that could be 400 damage maximum. But looks like he's out of chip charge. He could still get the D-Cross. Meteor Knuckles is going to miss, and Enduring Grey has air shield, so that isn't going to really do much with trapping Enduring Grey either. Yeah, and that machine gun does connect, nice. All of these just trying to do this at avoiding the beast buster from doing great. Ooh, and now we see Gideon coming out. So if Lucky already used out his beast out. So if he goes into Tengu, then that will allow him to move above the broken panels from Gideon, but that will risk him getting decrossed by a Muramasa, which will deal more than enough damage to bring the game for Enduring Grey. And Grey has the judgment to try to deal with an invis or an anti-damage that might come out. Ooh, interesting. So we're seeing Tomahawk, yeah, and the wind up. But now luckytyphlosion is stuck with the broken panels, even though this is a good position in attempting to land his beast charge. Ooh, nice. Beast jump connecting with Muramasa, and nice movement. I believe that damage will protect, yeah, and finishing off the game with 1 HP. Oh, Enduring Grey had 666 HP, so that was interesting. Okay, now we're heading into the next game. You see that flash bomb into machine gun full cost combo coming out again, but this time Lucky decided to go with Tomahawk and is starting with anti-damage. Ooh, the Raceman does miss though. Double point, so we might see, yeah. Ooh, and it gave him a counter hit, so Lucky was trying to go with the flash bomb activating, but the lava panels actually destroyed the flash bomb, which half the damage that Lucky would have been able to deal. Apologies, there wasn't a game side, no, should be fixed. Now we see Enduring Grey going with getting into Slash Frost, but the life aura, if Enduring Grey has no answer to that, then that could be bad. There is the Muramasa, which unfortunately will be wasted on life aura, but this still gives Enduring Grey the chance to land in a lot of his charge shots, which will deal a lot of DPS. That interrupted the charge from Lucky. Now Lucky does have the area advantage, but he doesn't really want to trade DPS with Enduring Grey Slash Cross. The HP advantage is very close still, so it could still be anyone's game. Enduring Grey deciding to stay in Slash Cross. And Lucky doesn't really have much to punish there. Amcode does have the Golem hit 3, which would be a lot of damage with the D-Cross, but Lucky decided to not run it. Ooh, the area grab. A second area grab, we could be seeing Meteor Knuckle, how could I forget about that? Okay, using grass, so we might be seeing Elements Mana SP then? Lucky isn't able to deal damage with his charge shots, so... And yeah, that's damage minus speed doing 480 damage. And now Lucky is ahead. Colonel Force would have brought the game back for Enduring Grey, but we don't see him get that. Enduring Grey is going to have to survive for the whole of this stand. Gideon will help him because that will make it easier to avoid charge shots and confirm his own. And this could be enough. I mean, Enduring Grey does have enough damage to maybe close the game this turn, so depending on what Lucky ends up taking, this could still be a very close game. Rush will activate, so that wouldn't do anything except telling us that Lucky had the invis denied. Windrush missing, but the machine gun with the white capsule does connect, giving all hits and finishing up the game, taking us into game 3. And there it is, we see that combo again with the flash bomb into a machine gun. But this time the machine gun will have uninstall, so we'll see if Enduring Grey is able to land that. Missing this will be a much bigger swing for Lucky. Okay, so again, Lucky deciding to go with the Tomahawk. Ooh, nice. Lucky wasn't expecting the machine gun to come out before the flashbang, so that was able to connect. And now we see the area grab. Let's see if it still goes through. Ooh, and it looks like it does, nice. And Enduring Grey still has that gun, which looks like he is going for it. So that will lock Lucky in place. And deny the double point. Because it looks like Lucky either wanted to use yeah, so that was unfortunately misordered from Lucky, having the grab banish after the double point. And we see Enduring Grey taking good chips against defense, so he has that flash bomb for invis, he has that machine gun for anti-damage, and he has the area grab to try to get in the advantage with getting in damage. Although again, just taking one area grab can be risky against Lucky, who plays 5 area grabs in the folder, so looks like Lucky's going into this out, trying to avoid the impact from these broken panels. Yeah, we see the area grab exchange. Anti-damage. Ooh, nice. And now, yeah, Enduring Grey doesn't have any ways of confirming his charge shots or his wind grab, so just going to have to wait until next turn while holding that in hand. And now we see beast out. So one thing to note is that although Raceman wouldn't paralyze Lucky with status guard, it will still cause him to flinch because of the lack of super armor, which I believe might be just enough time for Muramasa to connect. So this still could be a way to confirm Muramasa even if the Element Man misses the decross. But again, so Enduring Grey deciding to stay in Slash Cross, so that could mean Meteor Knuckles coming, and Meteor Knuckles in a corner or getting a good number of hits that could still be game. Ooh, we see that life aura though. Enduring Grey is still able to chip charge that. So Element Man is a null chip, so Enduring Ray would have been able to chip charge that to try to remove the life aura with it. And now unfortunately he doesn't have much other than throwing away the Erase Man and trying to get the life aura removed with the Muramasa. Ooh. Oh, they end up missing, nice. And the decross. So the reason why that missed is because Lucky was mid animation, or was just at the start of his chip charge animation, which makes him invulnerable. Though I didn't expect that to protect his life aura. That was very interesting. So Solid says that invulnerability still will lose him the life aura, but because of the Ground Beast chip charge that made Lucky count as being off the field, which technically means that he doesn't have any hitbox. So the life aura wasn't removed. And then getting decrossed and the TFC on the life aura. But let's see if Lucky has second wind rack. And now Enduring Ray also doesn't have any way of dealing with that life aura. If he was able to save that Erase Beast, that could have been enough damage to finish off the game. But unfortunately he's just going to have to wait out. And then waiting until the very end before using Geddon to hopefully stop Lucky from stepping into the broken panels. Ooh, which Lucky did miss. So the way that works is that if you had air shoes and you end on a broken panel, then you will still be able to move between broken panels until you step into a fixed panel. But because Lucky ended the turn on a fixed or a normal panel, unless he goes into Tango as we see here, he wouldn't be able to step into the broken panels. Ooh. Windrack removes the life aura and then Judgment for the anti-damage. Roll will give a bit of recovery and bringing the game closer. Let's see, Lucky's able to use that back beat. Ooh, the Unboomer connects and then the machine gun finishes off the game. Nice. And that will finish off the match. Yeah, those at the very end that was very close. If Enduring Ray just had just a bit more time to be able to get in that damage, or ooh, very interesting. As Salad is saying now in chat, if Enduring Ray was able to use that triple shot just in time, then that would have caused him to beast jump, which would have allowed him to move away from the confirmed area for the Unboomer, which would have saved him that decross and dealt the 100 damage to bring Lucky down to 90 HP, I believe. So yeah, that was still a very close match. And I don't think we saw the Meteor Knuckles come out from Lucky at that game, and he did have a perfect area for it, so Enduring Ray had to finish the game that round if he wanted to try to avoid that from happening. But yeah, that was well played from both sides. Although unfortunately that does mean Enduring Ray will be out of the tournament for now. So let me go back into this. Yeah. So we've already seen Enduring Ray and Lucky play, and this was the second loss. This is a double elimination bracket, but yeah, Enduring Ray was one of the more recent players that have joined in this tournament and was doing very well. So thank you for joining, and hopefully we'll be able to see you join in future tournaments. Alright, so now we're going into our next match, which will be Joey vs Shadow. Okay, so this will be an interesting one. We've already seen Shadow play, we've already seen his folder, and again trying to use the emotion bug, but this is the first time we see Joey playing this stream. And Joey has quite an interesting build. So we see a combination of M code, L code, and the SP navies with the B code, as well as more of the usual chips like the anti-damage life aura, though we also see barrier 200 in W. So there is a good number of chips or combos basically that Joey is flashing. So we see in L code the Bubble Star with Elec Dragons, we see M Boomers and Risky Honeys in M code, as well as the Grab Banish with the Trainer. So there are a few things going on, and we'll see if Joey is able to connect them. Looking at Joey's Navicast, so this is going to be Emotion Bug mirror match. They both have humor bug, and so it's likely that both of them, at least for the start, will want to stay in basement. Although Joey doesn't have shield like Shadow, he has beat instead, which, considering Shadow is running 6 megas, might have less of an effect, but Shadow would want to get the extra value from all of them, so he wouldn't be able to use a Slashman SP, for example, turn 1 with Emotion Bug, so he would have to throw away a Navi first or wait for a TFC. Joey's also running max attack and charge, which I think we've seen quite a bit actually in this tournament. People going with max buster with Falzar, which is interesting. I think usually some people might say, oh, it's only with Gregar that you have to go with attack max and charge max, but actually Falzar can also do very well, and the game is a lot more diverse than what people might think, and allows different strategies to work. But we see also Joey running 1800 HP, so I think they have... No, Shadow has 50 extra HP. I believe that's everything. Let's head into the next match. Okay. And there we go. Ooh, so we're already we started with Grassfield, and we see Joey is having the Blastman SP in hand, though he decides to keep that and go with Tomahawk Cross to try to get the 2x charge from Tomahawk. Although he does have the Invis to deal with anything that Shadow might have at the start turn. We see Beat going away and the Slashman SP, though Joey did have Invis to deal with that. And now because of Warp Step, ooh, the first hit was blocked by shield, but because Shadow stepped back, the second one did connect. Oh nice, and we see the Buster Bug coming into big effect there, with being able to remove the 2x anti-damage. And now Joey has the Blastman SP that connects us 500 HP already, which will bring Shadow down to 1000 HP. Shadow going for B-Side, that will give him an indicator, but now the TFC that will also confirm the extra 250 damage. Nice. But And now, yeah, Snake's coming out, but Joey is still having that defense with the second invis. This is going very well for Joey, being able to avoid the Slashman SP and Snake's plus 30. But he is locked in place, so he can either decide to beast out or go into Tengu if he wants to have his movements back. Ooh, looks like he's deciding to stay in Tomahawk. And Shadow is using 2 of his recoveries, so we see he's going J-code. Nice. Magnum does connect. That bubble unfortunately missed. At least the Dragon does connect with Warp Step from Shadow, and this much area, it's going to be very difficult to land that Bolt Star anyway. So at least that enabled the Dragon to connect. And now Joey is going for the 2x Emboomer. Let's see if Shadow is able to step away from that. Again, Warp Step. Ooh! That does connect, and now... unfortunately, their Shadow was trying to use backbeat to try to get that fan off the field, but because in Beast Out makes it very much more difficult to get back these with Dust and Tengu, so he's going to have to destroy that or deal with it some other way. Although one good thing that this gives is it will keep Shadow at +1 area. Now he has the +2. Let's see if he has anything to take advantage of that. Unfortunately, he still didn't get his buck. Ooh, nice! But that does connect again. Shadow with the unfortunate step back, causing all of these attacks to connect. And now we see Joey getting the Judgment, getting the Grab Revenge. Grab Banish. So it looks like he will be starting with the Judgment into Protoman, maybe expecting a Tango Cross because Shadow does have the area for it. Ooh, Judgment TFC. But again, yeah, so that fan didn't get destroyed. And if Shadow steps back, he will lose 1 area, but he wouldn't lose the whole thing. The Protoman SP does connect, bringing Shadow down to 440 HP. Double point, so it's likely we'll see roll. Let's see if he gets... Ooh, that was with Risky Honey, nice. Unfortunately, couldn't get that with the 2x. But that still protected him and dealt the extra damage. The Meteor Missiles, and then the Element Man does connect though, and an air grab. Ooh, the grab banish coming up straight away afterwards. And now Joey has no way of confirming his charger, so he's just going to have to rely on the Buster Bug. Okay, now we see Joey going for bees with Tomahawk, but he doesn't have any defense, so an Element Man, if that wasn't already left to beat, could be bad. Although Joey did start with the grab banish, maybe expecting an area grab, there it is, or trying to deal with the anti-damage. Nice. Let's see if that bees does connect. Ooh, roll 30, roll from Shadow will give him a bit of recovery, and the Warp Step should make it very easy to avoid these, yeah. so Joey still has the anti-damage up, and Shadow doesn't have his bug fix. There it is. So if he has an area grab, then he will be able to confirm his charge shot. Ooh, nice movement, avoiding the Elect Dragon. And Buster Bug does remove the anti-damage, but let's see what he has to follow up with. Okay, their HP is very close. Horseman will connect, though that wouldn't really do much other than deal the 120 damage. Elements Man though, that will give Decross dealing 200 damage as well. See, Beast Jump does connect, that will bring... Ooh, the second Beast Jump allows Joey to avoid some of that machine gun. More Massive does connect at the very end, and the Buster Shot will finish the game off for Shadow. The ending, that was very hype ending for that game. Nice usage from Joey using that Beast Jump to allow him to avoid some of that machine gun. And dealing some damage as well. Now we see both are going into Dust Cross. Let's see how... Ooh! Seems like Joey unfortunately missed on the input, so Shadow was able to get the cubes and connect with one of them. The invisible come out, let's see if he gets the Magnum in time. Okay, so we see an interesting thing. So this is similar to what we saw before, but gives it a different application. So we saw Joey use that chip at the very end, but it didn't actually activate, so it was within the 3 frames between the chip being used and it activating. And that allowed the chip, and that allowed it to be used into this turn. But unfortunately, Shadow did have the life arrow which saved him from it. Pokemon SP will deal with the life arrow immediately though. And Joey with the plus area able to remove the anti-damage easily. So using Dust ability, and now we see another good combination of Alcroid chips. So he has the bubble into Elect Dragon to deal 2x damage, and then following up with Magnum to remove an anti-damage or get the D-Cross. So if Joey isn't careful, then a single invis can stop that combo. But Joey did go into Spout Cross, so he might be able to try to go for the freeze from charge shots, or use that to limit where Shadow is able to move. We see that bug freeze coming out, so no more ward step for Shadow. Beats. Ooh, if there is Judgment there, this is the optimal positioning for it. Missing the boosted bubble. And then following up with the Judgment. Ouch, that was unfortunate. One thing Joey was able to do was use the Magnum, but he decided to wait for that, and that allowed him to get the 2x and the D-Cross. Nice. Magnum on the Slashman SP would have been able to deny Slashman SP from jumping and reducing that damage by a lot. But looks like Joey decided to go for the more offensive play, and that did pay off. And now we see the train arrow. Is that going to connect? There is no Spout Cross to give that 2x. But unless Shadow goes into Beast Out, which he does, that may allow him to move away from that train arrow. Let's see if any hits connect. Though we do see that Geddon, so Snakes might be coming. Few hits connect, but unfortunately not many. Ooh, nice, and Bees then allowed him to get into his invis. and Shadow was able to avoid some of the hits from these, but they still do damage. And now they're at almost the same HP, less than 20 difference between them. Okay, now Joey deciding to go into Beast Out, then going again with the bubble into Elect Dragon combo, and ending with that Fang. Ooh, that is going to pierce the invis that Joey still has. And unfortunately, because Joey used the Bubble Star at the very back, it's unlikely to connect, but it does connect, nice. This fanfare will deny a build double point, which was for all. Actually, it was for all plus 30, so that did deny quad build recovery. Shadow trying to destroy the fan, but without Habach, he still has attack 1, which makes it very difficult. Ooh, and now Joey does have the Element Man Wood into Blast Man SP. If he's able to connect that, then this will be a lot of damage, 600 potential damage, which will bring him ahead. Ooh, he started with the Blast Man SP, that was unfortunate. And it was TFC with an anti-damage. The Element Man will connect, but Joey bring out the recovery into Habach. I mean Shadow giving the recovery into Habach, so now Shadow has very big lead on XP. Oh, interesting. I'm not sure why he wasn't using his Buster Shot to destroy that. With attack 5, he should have been able to destroy that before the 10 ends, so I'm wondering if that was intentional from him. Ooh, the Element Man stopped by an anti-damage, and Joey does have that Meteor Knuckle, so with a good number of hits that could do damage. Isn't gonna 4 hits, okay, so that wasn't bad actually. That's about the number of average hits in a corner, so that was good luck. Ooh, but these snakes, the game's going to be finished with snakes taking the game for Shadow. Which I believe, yeah, that was the match. So well played to both sides. That was a really close game, especially game 2 that got to the very end there. And yeah, Shadow finally being able to finish that game with snakes. He's already shown snakes doing a lot of damage in the round robin, and now it's coming back, finishing off games with the top cut. Yeah, that was a very fun game, well played to both sides. And now, unfortunately, we're going to be heading into our final match of the day, which will be luckytyphlosion vs Thiago. Okay, so I think this will be a very interesting matchup. We've already seen both sides play. We've already seen how Lucky's folder is able to do a lot of damage, getting potential decross, and we saw that match vs Enduring Ray as well. But now Thiago does have a different folder. Thiago's folder is more focused on charge shot damage and has a lot more of defensive chips. He has that 2 recovery 300. He does have the Blastman and Protoman SP, which can decross the most charge shot offensive crosses that Lucky can go with. And he does have that Geddon. So Lucky doesn't have air shoes in custom, so or Habbat, so we will have to depend on Beast Out or Tengu Cross to allow him to deal with that. And we see the machine guns from Thiago. So we saw how the machine guns did a lot of had a lot of impact when Lucky played vs Enduring Ray, and now we will see, although they don't have uninstall or the flash bomb to try to confirm them, they can still be a big risk, especially Machine Guns 3 with Geddon could potentially deal 340 damage or something like that. It can be a lot of damage. So yeah, let's head into the next match. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we already see them starting with cubes field and on grass. So they both have a strong SP Navi chip to try to get advantage from that 2x on grass. And Lucky does have all of these chips to go with Tomahawk with, but he doesn't have any defense, so this could be very risky. Although that being said, these cubes can help protect him from a blast man if that does come. So he does have a good number of options to go with. He can try to go for B-Banish, but I don't think that's the good play because they will be very easily blocked by the cubes if he fires them in the middle. And they only deal one hit on cubes. Looks like Thiago was expecting a dust cross and started with that machine gun 3 trying to get an early D cross. One hit connecting, double point coming out with no area grab. Yeah, unfortunately objects can very easily block these, which... So the way that works, that these normally give 5 ticks of hits, so they apply 5 hits with the damage. But against objects, they only deal 1. So even if you have a 2x beam that is boosted to do a lot of damage, they can very easily be blocked by very low HP objects. And boulders, I believe, have the most HP of all objects, which is 400, so they wouldn't have been able to go through that. But now we see Lucky having the Amboomer and chip charging. Ooh, though barely misses. Let's see. The second one also misses. That was a lot of lost damage from Lucky. Lucky does have the life or as his defense, but again an element man can easily remove that, and followed by blast plant that could be very bad. Okay, luckily there was no TC. Ooh, nice, the boulder does connect, but unfortunately it doesn't do breaking damage, so it doesn't decross, but that was still good 200 damage for Lucky. And now the area grab and the second area grab will allow him to very easily confirm charge shots, and although grab banish did come out, having that life aura will protect him from being pushed. But now Lucky will need to watch out because a wind rack can push the boulder into his life aura, which will destroy it. Ooh, though we see Lucky having that meteor knuckles deciding to take that for the turn. If Thiago stays in slash cross and disconnects, that could be game. Ooh, Judgeman will activate the anti-damage. Nice. That's one less layer of defense that he has to deal with. Ooh, but that life aura, very unfortunate. Yeah, so now Lucky's going to have to wait out or throw away his meteor knuckles, which I don't think he'll do. Yeah, he's going into Tengu cross, but that can be very risky because Protoman SP will give a D-cross and deal a lot of damage. Also, another thing to point is that if Thiago is able to hide behind the fanfare, then that will deny the back B, and if he hides in front of it, that will deny the wind from the charge shot, so there is a balance between them. Okay, so Lucky was able to get that in. Those connect 1, 2, 3 hits. So I think that is about average with that area arrangement. Now Slow Gauge does come out, but thankfully with the single cross, he can try to deny some of the charges from Thiago, or at least try to pressure him. Ooh, and now we see maybe thinking about going spout cross. We are in Slow Gauge though, and I think it has been enough turns that Thiago could potentially have Coronal Force in hand, so if he goes into Beast, then that could be a sign. But yeah, so Thiago did go for the leg cross, which might be bad unless Lucky is able to connect. Let's see if he gets the timing. Nice, that was D-cross, dealing 2x damage as well too. Unfortunately, the Iceman does miss, but the Elementsman SP was a very big swing for Lucky's side. And now he doesn't have to worry about getting decrossed, or at least from the charge shots, because we see the Elementsman miss into an anti-damage. The Blastman does connect though, dealing 500 damage. So the Elementsman from Thiago was trying to bait out the defense. Now the Protoman SP as well. And now Thiago is back to being ahead on HP. Although the gap between them is very small. Ooh, does that get him given time to land 2 charge shots? The third one isn't quite there. No. Okay, so Lucky is going for the anti-damage for defense into machine gun, trying to confirm that Muramasa. Although Muramasa will give flashing, so if the machine gun isn't able to put Thiago at 1 HP, that could be a rough situation where Thiago has the chance to retaliate with his own chips. Oh, and we do see the beast out, so chip charges or the Colonel Force could be coming out. Ooh, does give 1 hit, and now that will put him back to 1 HP, but unfortunately Thiago did activate Rush beforehand, which will remove his invis, and the Buster Shot will finish off that game. And we're heading into game 2. And we are starting with the cubes field again, or at least object field again. But this time it also has ice instead of the grass that I had last time, so going into Spout Cross might be tempting for Lucky, but Thiago does know that. And so Thiago might go into Elecross. That being said, Elecross is very risky with how many wood chips Lucky is running. So we'll see which side of the coin, not really the coin, which side of the exchange Thiago goes with. Okay, so he went into Erase, which is probably the safe play. Ooh, nice. Sproutman SP does connect, which will apply the freeze as well. So yeah, Lucky is able to land in extra charge shots. Thiago might have been expecting Dust Frost to come out from Lucky and wanted to try to use Beast out with Erase Beast next there to try to get in a lot of damage. Area grab coming out. Ooh, another area grab as well, nice. Mashing out both chips before the end of turn. Okay, so it looks like Lucky's planning on going into Beast out into Windrat, trying to get that D-cross if Thiago goes into Beast out or stays in the Race Cross. Okay, so we do see the Beast out from both sides. Is that Windrat going to connect there? Ooh, nice! He does take 1 hit, but connects at the end, and the Elementsman SP will connect, although unfortunately it wasn't on ice, so he wasn't able to use ice to freeze him. Chip charge will remove the anti-damage at the very end there. And now that Lucky knows Race Beast threat is out, he's thinking about going into Charge Cross. But that is still risky because Thiago does run 2 machine guns and we still haven't seen the Raceman from Thiago, so it still isn't a completely safe play to go with. Lucky might be trying to avoid Elect Beast from Thiago, which has very good range and can easily decross. Ooh, Colonel Force does come out, that will do a lot of damage, even though it wasn't maximum damage thanks to that cube. Unfortunately, the Eraseman does miss. And I think that was one hit. One hit from the machine gun, but the boomer does connect. Ooh, now we see Lucky having the option to go with defense with life or going for the more offensive play with the 2 boomers and Muramasa. We've already seen Thiago use his Colonel Force, so Lucky doesn't have to worry about that. But Thiago still has Blastman, I think, a Raceman, Element Man, so there might still be a lot of risky attacks that Thiago could have. 2 chip charges from Thiago will bring Lucky to 1 HP if Thiago crosses out. Ooh, Gedin coming out, which doesn't do much because Lucky was still in B-Star, so... and Lifer. Yeah, Lucky focused on defense that time, so he doesn't have any way of dealing with the Lifer. So the way he's moving, he's trying, as we saw with Salad, he's trying to avoid a potential wind rush and causing that to miss. And now he did step on a broken panel, so he doesn't have to go into Tengu to get the ability to step on broken panels. But seeing the life aura, he needs to deal with it, so that might tempt him to go Tengu with the back B. And we've already seen Thiago use Protoman SP, I believe, so he doesn't have to worry about getting decrossed by that. Lucky has a very offensive turn with a lot of his chips. We'll see if they do connect in the end. Okay, so he decided to keep the bees in hand, and Thiago is actually staying without cross, which is unusual. Ooh. The bomb just connects. Ooh, and the Elementsman will bring Thiago down 6 HP. So few buster shots, but the turn does end. We were still in normal gauge. So unfortunately Lucky didn't get the chance to finish off the game with that. We do see the bees and the white capsule attached. Let's see what Lucky decides to go for. Going into double point is obviously an overkill, but that could allow him to use grab banish with it, which will pierce Invis. Ooh, we see Thiago going for the beast over, but there is no Colonel Force. First machine gun, both of them giving one hit. Ooh, the blast man SP that will bring Lucky down to 1 HP, and there is enough time for the flashing to end, so this could still be Thiago's game if Lucky isn't able to avoid buster charges. Ooh, very nice movement from Lucky. But now Thiago has the slightly higher HP and an anti-damage. Okay, Lucky going with the Meteor Knuckles, so unfortunately that will be lost into the anti-damage if it does connect. Let's see if Fanfare will protect the anti-damage. Fanfare can actually protect Thiago from buster shots. Okay, anti-damage will be gone. Harry grab, so Beast Out just smashing chips. Ooh, Beast Out isn't firing. The very end, finished off the game. If only Thiago was hiding behind that Fanfare, he could have still survived. even though if Beast Out had stepped into the middle forward area, then no, I think that would have still been blocked by the feathers, yeah. So if Thiago was just hiding behind the fanfare, he would have been able to survive potentially until the next turn. And because we saw Lucky's hand, we knew he didn't really have anything, so he'd have been back to buster shots to see who finishes off the game. So yeah, both decide to give Beast over, to give the handle on to Beast over, and then unfortunately Thiago was the one that ended up losing that game. Well played to both sides. That was a really fun game and really close game as well. Really enjoyed that. Though unfortunately now this will mark the end of the stream. Well, so this is we still have more matches to show, but we will be showing them tomorrow. So tomorrow at 1 PM EST we will have another stream which is going to be going through the remainder of the top cut. So just as an update, I'm going to show you how the bracket looks like now. So tomorrow we're going to be looking at playerzero vs Neryth and Salad vs Symes on the winner's side of the bracket. And then on the loser's side of the bracket, we're going to be seeing luckytyphlosion vs no, actually we just saw that. Yeah, but basically, so this is showing the situation of the bracket. So we already saw Lucky vs Thiago. So next game we're going to be seeing the we're going to be seeing Lucky play vs the loser between playerzero and Salad, and the winner between HonorNite and Shadow play vs the loser between Symes and Salad. Although that will remind me that for this tournament, unfortunately, HonorNite wasn't able to play his other match vs Shadow, so Shadow will qualify to play next. So starting from tomorrow, we will be starting with the winners bracket, which let me bring that up again. Yeah, we will be starting tomorrow with the winner bracket with playerzero vs Neryth, Salad vs Symes, and the loser from them will go to the losers bracket. Alright, so yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed the stream. And yeah, huge shout out for Salad for organizing the tournament and working on the stream layout. She worked really hard on it and I really liked how it turned out. And yeah, thanks to Symes for joining me on commentary. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow at 1 PM EST to finishing up the rest of the tournament. And thank you all for watching. Goodbye.